You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to Boss Hog of Liberty Podcast. This is episode number 145 of East Central Indiana's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell. Today I'm joined by co-host Kade Koger, interim producer Mason Rottinghouse,
Dr. Phil,
and my forever co-host Dakota Davis.
Oh, geez, Pete Mason. Today's episode features the four of us. Mason's mic should always be muted. We are going to be talking to Justin Juice Kelley. You might recognize him. He's been on the podcast before. We have been on his podcast called Juice in the Morning.
East Central Indiana's second favorite podcast.
That's correct.
I think Facebook would disagree by 100 likes.
100 likes. Give or take.
Not that anybody's counting.
Mm-hmm. But we're going to be talking to Juice about his recent career that he's been building in the world of comedy, a comedy act that is coming to Newcastle, Indiana at the new Oyo Hotel. And then we will be getting into some local news, such as who's running for office in Henry County. A bunch of people have filed already, so we're going to talk about those. And then some news with our state representative, Tom Saunders, is coming up at the end. So make sure you stick around to listen to that.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we will provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh. Hopefully you'll always learn something new, like what the hell an Oyo Hotel is. We have one, everybody.
That's right.
All right. I went this spring and watched the Twit Network record and watched Leo Laporte, the guy who used to be ZDTV, Tech TV, big time national radio host, and I sat in his studio and watched him roll in the door. Their show started at 10 o'clock in the morning. I watched him roll through the door with 10 seconds to go. You're starting to master the art here, Dakota.
I was late this time. I wasn't even here. If you're a Patreon member, it was audio only because I take care of the video part, and I wasn't here to set up the video. I had to work late. It's fine. No big deal.
You got a baby on the way, man. You got to pay for the baby. You need the overtime.
The real problem was there's 100% chance of rain all day tomorrow. So what we had scheduled for tomorrow could not happen. It had to be done tonight.
Had to push it forward.
Those are the things that happen when you work outside. Sometimes the weather doesn't cooperate, right, Kade?
Yep.
You know it better than me.
We're still dealing with bad, spring that we had. So
yeah.
Now I think you're just belly aching.
No, we're just about to finish hauling, so that'll be nice.
The only difference with
that's humble bragging about how you actually got a crop this year. That's what that is.
Yeah, well, we tried.
The only difference against
I only spent a few 48-hour shifts out there.
With you and I, the difference in the weather is that if the weather's bad, then you don't get paid, and I usually get paid more.
We're on differing sides of what's good for us.
It evens out somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in the end.
Rain means that my shop can't do anything. Nobody likes to pour concrete in the rain, so we like dry weather in my business too.
That's true.
All right, you got some thank yous, Dakota.
That's right. If you sign up at patreon.com/bossHogofLiberty, which is where you can support the show monthly. If you sign up at $50 or more a month, we promise to give you a shout out before every episode starts. Well, it's already kind of started, but we haven't got to the meat yet. And those folks are Christy Avery, Chris Lamb, Craig DaCosta, and Jonathan Phillips. We also have T-Chip stores if you want to support the show by buying merch, and that is the way that people get to know the show. That's how people listen in, is by you telling them, you wearing our merchandise out, and they search us on Google, wherever. If you want to find those, it's tchip.com/BHO01, 2, or 3. And we also are going to start helping local charities and nonprofits. We did a big fundraiser, the hashtag Red for Rob, for the Newcastle Career Center. Got $100 to go towards the Career Center. We want to start doing that with other things as well. We want to start partnering with charities and nonprofits and trying to help out the community in some of those ways. So if you have an idea, or if you run a nonprofit or a charity, something like that, then send an email to Dakota@bossHogofLiberty.com. We will get you set up, and we'll come up with some fun, creative ideas for that.
Yeah, so here in the first quarter of the year, we've already got our donation from the Red for Rob and the Salvation Army as well. Guffey put together a neat thing, and the Boss Hog community was able to buy a bunch of youth outfits, attire, onesies. I don't know what you call them, pajamas for the kids, and those are being donated to the Salvation Army. So once our schedules and their schedules line up, we'll get those dropped off. In the chat, I have Mrs. Koger saying, "Don't let Kade drink too much. He's only had one meal today." We tried to feed him, so at this point, I can't be responsible.
It's a new year, new me. I'm trying a new diet and weightlifting and jujitsu and rededicating myself.
You're one of the
fasting?
You're one of the new guys at the gym.
I'm fasting now. So
How do you feel about it?
pretty good.
Because I've unintentionally done it. Like yesterday,
Yeah.
I didn't eat for like 14 hours just because work was really busy. I was driving around doing stuff. And I had that moment where I was like, I feel really clear headed right now. And it was actually perfect because of going up to do an open mic. Like I was like, dude, this feels really good. And I was like, I need to eat though before I go up there, cause I'm going to drink. Like I know I'm going to, like, I like to have some beers. But yeah, I was just curious because, from what everybody I've talked to about fasting, they say you go through that period of like where you feel very clear. You're like clear headed. You feel like you can, put sentences together better than I am right now. But yeah, I just was curious about that.
Yeah, I think everybody's different. It's been 3 years now with training and trying to lose weight and all that. So I think everybody's better off to try different things, find out what works for them. And just first of the year here, I just figured I'd try something new.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. I always
Has
feel
it cut
best
down
if
on? Has it cut down on your jerky? Is the jerky at risk?
the problem is the jerky is really, really it takes a
Spicy.
lot to make it.
It's labor intensive.
So it's labor intensive. So I've run out of jerky at this point. And so
You
I've
had
got
like a 50-pound bag of jerky. What the hell did you do with your Christmas?
That's what I lived off of for like a week. I lived off of it as long as I could. But no, I've got 107 pounds that I took to Fisher Meats in Portland, and they're processing that into snack sticks and ground venison.
Sometimes if I forget to put a meal prep together, then I'll just go buy a bunch of beef jerky and like mixed nuts and take some
Spend like
apples.
$13,000 because beef jerky is so expensive.
Beef jerky is probably the most expensive substance that's legal to buy at this point.
There is actually at some gas stations, mainly at truck stops, you can find it, and it is in a canister. It's called Dakota jerky. I'm not making this up.
It's made out of real live Dakotas.
I'm going to look for that next time.
It is. It's actually fantastic. They do it the way that like I saw you doing it, where they actually slice meat instead of it being like Jack Links, where it's
it's like muscle strip jerky.
It's like real jerky,
Cool.
and it's really good. But it's like the same price as a bag of Jack Links, so it is still expensive, but you get more, and it's way better.
Yeah.
And when Dakota trims his beard, they also add little bits of
That's the
beard.
seasoning. They're really pushing for this baby to be stressful, so it could be salt and pepper. Is that a bad joke? I feel like
It's a bad dad
I'll show
joke. You'll get
myself
better. Oh heck! So our boy Juice is with us. It's been over a year.
Yeah.
Insane how time flies.
Lots of stuff has changed.
I would apologize for not having you on sooner, but damn it, I don't think we've had us on your show. So
I've had
tit
you.
for tat.
I had you on the live show.
That's true. I did
make
hang out
an
at that.
appearance. I don't think you expected to go on because I didn't know that I was going to do a podcast. Because really it started off as like, I just want to do a podcast meetup of friends.
Just have everybody get together and have some fun.
Yeah. And have a good time. And then I was like, well, I don't have an episode for this week, so I might as well try to just record something. So then we had you on there, and that was a great time. The guys from PTO Unlimited from Fort Wayne. Yep. I'm actually driving up there January 24th or 25th, whatever that Saturday is, and I'm going to do their show just to promote more stuff that, like I said, last time I came on here, I was really nervous because all I was really talking about was Juice in the Morning. I wasn't like talking about anything else, just talking about podcasting. And like in a year's time, or a little bit more than a year's time, so much other stuff that has come to like the forefront of the media game. So it's just, I'm excited to talk to you guys about it. So,
and your goal isn't necessarily just to be a podcaster.
No.
You want You want to dabble and continue to advance the career, right? Right
And
now, it's transitioning into comedy, stand-up comedy. And
I've told everybody, like, I mean, I think we even maybe talked about it when I was on here. My goal is to be famous. That's literally the goal. And I know that sounds super narcissistic, and I've talked to people about it, and I try to explain to everybody that I talk to about it. Yes, it is narcissistic partially, but at the same time, like you guys, like if I got successful, I would want you guys to be a part of
everybody
it.
Else comes along,
everybody
right?
that I've worked with, I would want to bring with me. That's one of my most satisfying moments is like when I can connect two people together for a service or something like that. So I've also thought about even just recently, for example, Brad Rigler is putting on the roast battle, and I'm participating in that January 30th. He has a little button thing that he was trying to get his computer to have a little button that you press it and then it starts the time for the other comedian on like this chess clock that he had on his laptop. And I told him, like, I think it's very important for you to be able to show the audience how much time is left on the clock as well as the comedians. And like, it was cool to see that he took that idea and like kind of ran with it. Then he texted me, he was like, hey, every time I press this button, like nothing's happening. The computer's making it sound like a USB is being unplugged and plugged in. And I was like, okay. He was like, do you know how to,
this is your programming thing you were trying to work out a week ago or so.
He was like, do you know how to work on computers? I was like, no, but I probably know somebody. I kind of thought for a second and I was like, Jesse Riddle, because Jesse Riddle is somebody that does programming. I know he does it on a regular basis, maybe even for career, I think. I don't know for sure.
It's the day job. He works in one of the tallest buildings in Indianapolis, we'll say.
And so I texted, first of all, I texted Mark Foltz
because you got to know a guy to get to Jesse to get him to look
and
at
I also, Jesse and Brad Rigler had a little nasty back and forth on Facebook when we were originally promoting the first roast battle.
Jesse had a bad back and forth.
Our Jesse Riddle?
Yeah.
You have to get Jesse's burner number.
Yes. So I got a hold of Mark and I was like, I presented it to Mark as just the question, like, hey, do you know somebody? Even though I knew that he knew Jesse, I was like, you know somebody that like could help?
Hey, I'm just thinking there's this one thing that your best friend might be able to do, but do you think you know anybody specifically that could do this one thing?
And so then I messaged Jesse and I was like, hey, just kind of put things to the side and ignore that it is Brad Rigler, that you might have had like a bad back and forth on Facebook. I sent him the video of what Brad sent me of that button. And I was like, do you think you could fix that? And he was like, yeah, I could probably fix it. I just need a little bit more detail. And he was cool as shit. He was like, just tell Brad to message me directly. 20 minutes later, Brad sends me a video of it working. And I was like, that made me feel awesome because I was like,
I was able to business community.
I was able to put people together and make something better than what it was before. So I was really excited about that. But that's something that I've thought about recently is like, maybe that's my gig, not just like comedy, not podcasting.
Yeah,
like
professional middleman.
Yeah, exactly. Like networking people together. I don't know. But yeah, the comedy has started just recently though.
That's so totally off topic, but I pay a lot of attention to the world of motorsports, right? And that's one of the things that you see major race teams like Andretti Autosport in Indianapolis. They have all of these businesses that they get that support their team, and it's not necessarily because you're going to know who Group 1001 is, but the people at Group 1001 potentially need to be connected with their other sponsors, say DHL. So then what happens is they get those two sponsor organizations are at the same events and they start to develop relationships, and then both of those companies benefit.
Right.
Because they got together at the event that, Andretti had them at when they were at the racetrack in Alabama or, in Indianapolis or wherever. Same thing. It's exactly the same thing.
Super cliche saying it's not what you know, but who you know. Yep. But so far with comedy and everything else I've been doing, it's actually, my career, like outside of the media stuff, it's kind of true.
You've got to you got to get into a community and then you go.
Yeah.
So have you always wanted to do stand up?
So stand up. Okay. So I've always been a big fan of stand up. I never really thought that I would ever have the courage to actually like try it, because being a big fan of stand up, you listen to podcasts, you watch specials, you see documentaries, and you hear almost all comedians talk about how difficult it is just to start and try. And what I want to tell everybody listening, I don't necessarily think that's true. And I almost think that that's a comedian's way of maybe keeping people from doing it, because it's real. Ultimately, And it also just might be my personal experience, because my personal experience going on stage was like, yes, there's a lot of fear, but as soon as you do it the one time, it's just like a roller coaster. You go up on that roller coaster, you go down. The next time you go up, it's not as scary. So
you're gonna live
progressively.
Through it. You might die on stage, but you're gonna live through it, right?
Progressively gets less and less scary every time. And I just think that it's just like any other thing that you try for the first time.
It would make sense, like a big comedian or someone who's like kind of medium, getting to that point where they're selling out clubs, but they're not at arenas or stadiums yet, or a Netflix special yet. And it might make sense for them to maybe discourage people, like not actively discourage, but kind of put that doubt in a person's mind. Because if they're traveling around and a local opener is going to open for them, then I don't like going to a comedy club. You have and it's a small room or a medium sized room, and the first guy that goes up just absolutely sucks. It makes the atmosphere kind of awkward.
Right.
And then I could see how a comedian that's in that space would be like,
doesn't want somebody to do that. Yeah.
Just don't even try. Like, let me bring my own people.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just, once again, my experiences could be vastly different than anybody else's. But another thing that's pretty interesting about it is every book I've read, everything I've listened to, and kind of the research I've done on it, all comedians and people say, if somebody has told you that you're funny in person, you should do stand-up comedy. Like if somebody, says, hey, you should probably try stand-up, then that person should try it. And one of the things that I'm actually like trying to think of how to write it as a bit, nobody's ever told me that. Nobody's ever said, hey man, you're hilarious, you should try stand-up comedy. But I was like, you know what, I'm still going to try it. And,
round peg, square hole, here I am.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's one of those things that I just, I just decided that I'm going to try it. And I'm very big on giving myself deadlines. So that way, even if I procrastinate to no end and have nothing prepared, or I didn't do anything at all, I'm still going to go up there. And then the failure that I have is all on me because I failed, but at least I accomplished that goal of what I had.
So we're saying like by the end of 2024, if you don't have your Amazon Prime special, and by 2026, if you don't have your Hulu network show, I'm out.
That's
I quit.
true.
It's
That's
over.
true.
Yeah. Those, you gotta be.
Netflix.
No, I think Netflix is going to give me a deal by like next year. I'm telling you, they're giving everybody deals.
Yeah, they're giving so many deals. That's like, I was telling Audrey, whenever we were up in Chicago, there was some random comedian that was out performing. She was like, if you don't have a Netflix special, I don't want to hear you. And I was like, they gave Nikki Glazer a Netflix special. Like they'll give anyone, which Nikki Glazer actually is hilarious. If you listen to her, it's just her voice kind of annoys me sometimes.
Even podcasts are getting picked up by Amazon Prime, like Dinner with Racers, something that myself and the Burchams, who are in our Patreon.
Lore is another one that I was a big fan of. I'm still a big fan. I just don't have time to listen to it. But that got picked up by Amazon. They do all the like recreation of like
the anime
folklore.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them I've seen episodes where they take it, they sit down long form story, and then they'll animate it. Yeah. So it's cartoon. Well, it's the podcast with a cartoon.
And this isn't on the notes, but that's actually something that we're working on. January 18th, we're going to record a pilot of a fictional podcast. So
I heard you and the cool. Thunderwolf talking about this.
Yep. That's great. It's kind of like a kind of radio drama. Like, I don't know if people listening on here are old enough to remember listening to a radio story.
Radio theater.
Yeah, radio theater. Yeah. And I kind of got into a lot of those podcasts just for long trips.
Yeah, some of them are awesome.
Yeah,
like
Black
and there's
Tapes
like
is one of my favorite
fantasy ones. I also like to listen to, and I don't even play Dungeons and Dragons, but there are Dungeons and Dragons podcasts.
We played once.
The One Tavern one.
Hello from the Magic Tavern is one. I know that's not a D&D podcast. Right. That's just an improv fantasy from Chicago.
Dakota's being too modest. We did play Dungeons and Dragons once in the pool.
We played
without helping whatsoever or knowing what was happening.
I was trying to take it serious.
The nerds were sitting at a table and they kept telling us shit, and we kept saying, "Yeah, I'm this," and we were drunk in a pool and they were trying to play a serious game. So don't act like you and I didn't do that.
You were the one that wasn't taking it seriously.
Harry Price was taking it very seriously.
You kept saying like we would come across a door, right, and Harry's doing a great job narrating. And Jeremiah's a thief character, and he's like, shoot the lock. Greetings, Adventurers, Dungeons and Dragons. That's one. Dungeons and Daddies is another one, which sounds like a BDSM thing.
I didn't even put that together because I was listening so intently.
Immediately where I went.
Well, they joke around about it. Actually, in the description at the bottom, it says not a BDSM podcast. But it's two dads that they just once a week sit around a table and play a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and then they're great. And the drama ones are great too. I think, and you've certainly got the voice for it. And if you're writing creatively for stand up,
Jay Kahn is the one who's writing it, and I'm telling you, it's going to be good. It's an interesting story. But I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil anything.
Right. Yeah.
Inadvertently, because I don't really know where he's going with it.
Follow Juice, and once details are available, I'm sure you'll be out there publishing, promoting it.
Right. Are you doing that a lot though? Are you whenever you're coming up with a set or trying to think of a bit, are you writing things down?
So I actually just had this conversation with somebody yesterday. I have a hard time sitting down and writing, and making myself sit for a set amount of time. So a lot of what happens is I just have I'll have an experience because I took a class, and that's actually a part of what led to doing it was taking the class and setting a deadline. But the class said, whatever makes you feel a very strong emotion, make sure you write it down. So I've been doing that. And then what I also do is I'll go through those notes and I'll read, and then I'll start to think of something on top of that. And then I will take, if I have I don't know, a few different premises in my notes, I'll actually force myself to sit down and actually write it out in joke form, because a key to most jokes is you do the straight line and then you have the punch line, because the straight line is you just say something standard and then you surprise the audience, and that's where most laughter comes from, is surprise. That's where 99% of laughter comes from. And so that's where, but most of the stuff that I've written has all been personal experience, because I can't, right now, I don't feel like I have the ability to see a news article, like what you guys talk about a lot on this show is local news. I couldn't see that and then make it into a joke. It's got to be something that I've experienced personally.
Have lived it.
Yeah.
So you don't look at comedy right now as storytelling as much. It's still a joke. Your methodology. Yes. You're a method comic, right?
Well,
it's set up, punchline, joke, move on. It's you're building a set that way, and that's the way you're constructing it.
Yeah, and taking the class actually allowed me to figure out, because that was my biggest thing before going to trying comedy, was I didn't know how to write a joke, and this guy gave us just a very good. And you can obviously stray away from the formula, but he gave us this page.
It's structured.
That's perfect. And it says here's 3 lines for this. Here's 4 lines for this. And you shouldn't kind of really go outside of this, because it's an economy of words, which I also think is very funny, because podcasting is the talk a lot.
Yeah.
And in comedy, you want to.
We were under an hour tonight, boys. We shortchanged the audience.
But in comedy, you want to get to the point with less, I guess, traveling around the point. You want to get to it right away.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of different comics talk about it. Dan Cummins says that he will make recordings instead of writing things down. He will record what happened, listen to it, then write down what sucked in the recording, re-record it, and then just critique until he builds a bit there. Joe Rogan writes his out in long form. He writes the joke out just as he's going to say it. Bert Kreischer writes bullet points.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
When I've prepared, like I said, I'm so new that I don't really have a set method yet. So what I've been doing recently is, when I feel like I really want to prepare for something, is I'll write it out by hand. I'll type it out. And then I will take my little mobile recorder and I will walk around in my spare bedroom and just act like I'm doing a set into my mobile recorder 5 to 10 times. I'll re-listen to it a few times. And I actually, the wonders of technology, I'll upload it to my Dropbox, and then I'll listen to it on my way to and from work too, just to see
how the rhythm
beats
is
and how everything feels. So that's been working for me so far. Like I said, I felt the most comfortable last night, and I think the show Saturday, man, I think we're going to kill it, because every person that's going to be on this show Saturday, not one of us had a set where it was man, that That was okay.
Iffy.
So
Right, yeah.
are you guys a traveling troupe now, or is it what are we developing here?
So that's another thing, man. You're kind of pulling it all out of me all at once. That's another thing that we've thought about is with the flyover media with BJ, because every person in this show Saturday, besides a couple of the guys, have podcasts that we all record in Greenwood, and BJ puts them out, and he edits them and sends them to us and all that kind of stuff. And we've thought about doing like and one of the guys came up with the name, just the flyover takeover. And we go and we find a venue, and maybe they have a couple of local comedians that, would like to get on the show. Mm-hmm. And then we just kind of like go in and do the show, work out all the details with the owner of the venue, that kind of thing. And then it's kind of like traveling around and we're all doing our own thing. And, then you don't have to worry about getting booked because, knock on wood, I've been very lucky. I haven't been paid yet, but I haven't really had a difficult time getting on shows yet.
Yeah, but you're getting reps, right? And you guys have been in Anderson. I've been very impressed at the locations that have said, yes, absolutely. Come, as a club owner, it's not a comedy club. You're in bars or different venues.
I think comedy's having a resurgence too, because people want that real conversation. And that's what a lot of comedy is like real topics that people are talking about that the media doesn't really want you to talk about, stuff that's slightly offensive to people sometimes, but
it's just the truth
because people want that.
Yeah, it's bringing the truth out of just things that are happening.
You got any good World War III jokes lined up for tomorrow for Saturday?
I don't. Like I said, I've got 5 minutes of pretty much making fun of myself. So
isn't that what Carl Jung said about the jester? The jester was the only one that could tell the truth about the king.
Yeah.
That's comedy right now. In our outrage cancel culture, only the comedians are the ones who are able to tell the joke and things that's
actually
everyone might be.
Thinks.
Yeah, everyone's thinking the same thing.
And it's so wild because you have to be to a certain level for that to not ruin your career.
Right.
You've had about 3 Netflix specials in the last 12 months that people have flipped back over that edgy line and it didn't kill their career.
Like Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle. Like they went hard. And
I just went, I think in November and saw Tom Segura in Columbus. It was amazing. It's probably the best. It's the best live stand-up act that I've seen for sure.
Most of us are going to go see
I'm sure he'll have
Bert in Dayton next month.
I won't be. I'll be waiting on a baby.
But that baby will be born in Dayton if you take him to Dayton. They have doctors and hospitals. I was just there today, Audrey, can we call an audible and just have your baby down?
We've already given all this money to Hancock.
They'll transfer it.
The last kind of little point that I wanted to say that I thought was interesting is I was listening to Dusty Slay's podcast because Dusty Slay and anybody that's listening that might be interested in stand-up comedy, he did a whole series of becoming a stand-up comedian from start to selling out a show, like how to do it and what his suggestions are on how to do it. And he mentioned something that I didn't even know because I don't do a lot of research on history. Stand-up comedy is a very American thing. It didn't start in another country like a lot of the arts that we have in the world. It started in America. Like that was like where it got its birth. And I thought that was very interesting, and it made me even more excited about doing it. And I don't know if that's just being a Homer patriot, but I just think that's cool.
What was the first comedy club? Was it the Comedy Store? Was the Comedy Store in California?
I'm going to imagine New York City probably was more on the tip.
I think it was either New York or Chicago.
Yeah, New York and Chicago probably.
Yeah.
Improv,
that would make sense.
Improv, Chicago, Toronto, Chicago.
I think Toronto was like what it started as, and then people started kind of just doing their
a lot of the early clubs were owned by like gangsters, American gangsters and stuff like Bugsy Siegel and
I know that there used to be something similar to like what a jester would do, where they'd go up and they'd tell a couple of jokes, but it was mainly like show comedy, and they would do that in tents along railroad camps, and so there were those folks at first, and then I think it did kind of get into clubs. Chicago is definitely the birth of improv. The Chicago Improv. It's huge, and that was
I got to go see that because
era.
You have to be very funny for improv to be good. Trust
Yeah.
me, I've seen some bad improv. And
sometimes it hits and sometimes it misses.
Yeah.
But that's the good thing. Like whenever we went to Second City in Chicago, that was the good thing about there being so many different actors up there and comedians up there is that one of them would start. You could tell that they'd hit a wall and they weren't going
And
to
they would
take the
tap
bit
out,
any further.
and the next person would jump in.
that's very
so
cool.
it's good. Yeah,
It's like a team sport.
And
as
you
opposed
watch,
to-
and they get more joy out of making the other people on stage laugh. They don't
yeah.
give a damn about the people in the audience.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
They're trying to get their buddy to laugh at them.
Yeah, one of the comics that's going to be actually at the show tomorrow, if I can get him to laugh, I will feel so good because I feel like he doesn't laugh at anybody's jokes. And I'm just like, oh, God, if I could just get him
Yeah.
to laugh, I'd be very happy.
I will be there. I promise to be a very generous laugher.
Well, I've also told people like I'm great to have at open mics because I laugh at everything. Like,
That's right.
I'm a very loud, boisterous laughter.
So, especially if the liquor's flowing a little bit. So it's going to be at the Oyo, which everybody will remember as the Raintree Inn here in Newcastle.
Yeah, we're
Surprise.
really promoting it as the Raintree show. I thought you guys were joking. Put the
in back. Put it back.
Put it back. Don't steal the fame of the Raintree.
They're pulling another doughboy on us.
I'm just going to take a picture and like Photoshop it and then send it to people. Like, this is what you're looking for.
So I saw them messing with the sign. I'm like, oh, they're painting the thing again. Because they just put up a relatively new sign for the Raintree like a year and a half ago. Put a little LED board up on it. It looks like, I've always looked at it. This is nerdery here. It looks like a Minecraft cow. Like the sign, I don't know why it's
it
odd
does.
and shaped the way it is, but it's this weird thing, this shape. And then all of a sudden, the lettering was off of it and it's red. I'm like, well, they're changing the colors of it.
Have you ever Google mapped the place?
Google mapped it.
Yeah. And then see
I
all the
live-
pictures that are posted? Like,
It's
it looks kind of seedy. Just saying.
I had my junior prom there. Thank you very much.
I have
I'll tell you real quick.
not. I have not been. And I don't. This is gonna. We're gonna dance on the line of trouble here. I've not been in the building since like the 90s.
No,
It's been a very long time.
I've
Just
not
look
been in the
swipe.
building in my whole life.
Good.
I've never
Swipe
been
on
there.
those.
yeah, I looked through the pictures on the Oyo website, and I.
So I don't even know what it is. It's obviously a motel.
It's
hotel.
so originally in the 60s, 50s, 60s, it was a Holiday Inn.
Okay.
Okay, so it's an old historic Holiday
I'm sure
Inn.
you drove by it on the way here.
And then
I
it's
probably
it's
did.
right
I
on the
wasn't
way.
even paying
It's across from Walmart, essentially. And then it was a Best Western when I was growing up, and then the Best Western name went away about 10 years ago. Some rooms have been updated, as far as I know. Once again, I haven't been in there. I will say
Poop
that
streaks in the toilet.
Hey, this is also, I have no idea about any of this. If anybody from Raintree is paying attention.
A couple of my friends used to have their birthday parties there because you could rent the pool whenever I was growing
I've
up.
heard there's a Chinese restaurant in there.
It's fun. Johnny Wong's. I've been to Johnny Wong's. Johnny Wong's is pretty good. Well, I've not been in there. I've had takeout from there. It's okay. They can't shake a finger at China Castle though. China Castle's still the best there is.
So look at Oyo's website, OYO, and they are I didn't know who they were until this last week when this all went down. They're the fastest growing hotel chain in the country.
Yeah, it started by a 20-year-old.
But started by a 20-year-old guy in India who basically had a list of, hey, these are the standard things we're going to have in,
Oh, dude, they're
in a
gonna
hotel.
shape them up right quick.
So I'm
Oh,
looking
yeah.
forward to see what happens. It's one of a $1 billion business that's here. So it's great for our community. And they've got opportunities for improvement, such as the pictures of the double room they have don't have matching bedding yet.
Yeah,
right.
and
so
I've just
if that's
told-
your,
I've just told
that's-
people don't look at the picture.
if that's your showpiece,
Yeah.
maybe go across the street to Walmart and we're going to get some matching
My
bedspreads.
junior prom there was straight out horrible.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing. Like I felt bad for people who brought their boyfriends and girlfriends from like other schools. I'm like, it would have been better to have it.
represent my school, I promise.
It would have been better if it was in the cafeteria.
Wasn't it double booked over at the Raintree Inn, like the arts center across the street? They double booked it, so they moved you guys to the Raintree Square.
Yeah. It was like it was a last minute booking, and it was so bad. And whenever we were, we missed the chance to have a 5-year reunion. We're 6 years out now, but I told our class president for a 10-year reunion
got to be at
It's got to be at the Raintree. We got to recreate it. I think that the theme was like Hawaiian luau or something. So it was all like a bunch of the cheapo streamers and like the plastic lays and things. It was just so bad.
I think you need to tour the hotel before you do the event.
Oh, yeah.
I think you just need to go tour the hotel and just have a little notepad of some fun observances that you've had. We did that. Dakota and I went to Chicago, and he's Mr. Electrician. So every time we went to a restaurant, he's looking at all of the electrical faults.
I was quizzing Chase because he's a first year apprentice.
Okay.
So I was like, look at that conduit run. Tell me what they did wrong, and tell me the code violations.
Have you become the guy that points out places that you worked on?
I do it all the time.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah,
constantly.
That's something. That's something that every friend of mine that's in construction, that's
my bridge.
All we talk.
That's
about.
my bridge. That's my bridge. That's not my bridge. That one sucks. That one's mine. Yeah. Oh yeah. From here to the Tennessee line.
And another funny thing is, my wife does it all the time too. Just about like, I used to live there with blah blah blah. That's like the 17th time you've told me this.
At least it's all different dudes in different houses.
And you know what's funny is I still don't remember that place if I drive by it by myself. I'm not going to remember that.
Right.
But I also remember that she's told me 17 times.
There's a family friend of Audrey's who I also work with, and his name's Joe Badgley. He's a great guy, and he's got this house, and he's got a big old like workshop in the back. It's crazy. It's awesome. It's like what I want. So every time that we drive by there, I always tell Audrey, I'm like, hey, that's Joe's house. Did you know that's Joe's house? And she's like, seriously? Every time we drive by, you tell me that that's Joe's house. I know that's Joe's house. So now I have to say it.
Now for the rest of time, it's going to be that way.
Yes.
So what do you guys have been in the Raintree? I have not, correct? You guys have been in there?
Yeah. So I don't know that I've been in there in Dakota's lifetime, but yes, I've been in there.
So what's the bar situation like?
Well, I haven't been in there since I've been able to drink.
I've not been there at all.
I literally don't know. This is going to be
this is going to be a surprise to me too.
Yeah.
Whenever I was growing up, they used
if you're
to
in
have,
the chat, if you're watching in the live chat, please help us know what
are we walking into?
We don't know.
What's the bar like?
Yeah, I want an update.
Well, my parents would know. Whenever I was growing up, they used to have 50-cent Taco Tuesdays at the bar. So my parents, we would
buy 2 shopping carts for that. Why would you waste it on a taco?
They'd drop us off at my grandma's house once a month, and that would be their date night, was going to get the 50-cent tacos at the Raintree.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was.
I wonder if they have 50-cent tacos on Saturday.
I doubt it. It's not Tuesday.
So it's at 8 o'clock. You want folks there at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock
at
is
the
start
Oyo
of the show.
Raintree.
Yep. 8 o'clock start of the show. We've got a lot of people coming. Like, I'm not trying to pump it up and make it sound really awesome, but I have.
You
had
may
a lot
want to
of
start
friends.
lining up by midnight tonight if you want a good spot.
I have had a lot of friends and family that say that they're going to be attending. So if you want, I don't know what
if you show up and say that you heard about it on Boss Hog, you get free admittance.
Ooh. There you go. That's perfect. Just tell them Jeremiah sent you.
And there's a secret after party.
Yes.
That you're going to announce tonight to the Boss Hog crew.
Well, yeah. But we're not going to announce. We're not going to announce to the podcast because I don't want to step on any toes yet. We'll do that. We'll do that. We should have done that on the Patreon.
I will just say that if you
I think the Boss Hog Liberty might be doing something after the show, and I might just sneak on over there.
You might remember some of our favorite sponsors down in Spiceland, Indiana. If you want an after party,
yeah,
and you can deduce it from there.
Well, you know, I'm going to be there. I'm not the kind of guy that goes home early. My wife will be upset because she's also pregnant. That's another like crazy thing that's happened in over a year. Like, we were going through the IVF stuff for forever. Like it felt like it was 3 years of going through all the, the stuff like that. That's crazy. Like that's another thing.
You got any good IVF jokes that you're going to tell on stage?
I do, but I'm not going to tell. I'm not going to tell it Saturday because I've only got 5 to 7 minutes, and I'm kind of skirting around 6 to 6:30 right now with what I have. So that's another thing that I'm feeling pretty good about. Like I'm starting to build.
You're starting to build a set. It's not just you're hosting.
Yeah,
but you've got the way the structure typically works is you'll come out.
Yep.
You do your 5 or 6 minutes, and then you're gonna.
And then I come up in between
on time.
And I also, I might make a joke about whatever they talked about. I think if it all goes the way it did yesterday, you guys are going to laugh a lot when Devon goes up because he's going to make fun of me. It's very great. But yeah, the show, like I said, 8:00 start. There's going to be myself, Devon Shoemaker from Muncie, Calvin Turner from Muncie, Griffin Shira, who's like kind of, I think he lives in Muncie, but he comes to a lot of indie shows. He does a lot of open mics in indie. He's a hilarious guy. He's the one that I want to make laugh. And then, I want to say it's Stutz, but he's not really talked that much in the chat with all the group of the people doing it. So I don't want to like throw him off, but I think it's Stutz, David Stutz, maybe. And then Brody Miller will be headlining. He'll be doing like, I think 30 minutes.
All right.
So it's going to be a very efficient show. It's going to be funny, and you're not going to have anybody up there dying a slow death. I'll tell you that for sure, because they are all on point right now.
Great.
Dude, Calvin's got some jokes that are offensive, but you guys are going to laugh. You guys are going to have a good time.
It's exciting though for Newcastle. We've got live comedy coming to town. Not since Donnie Baker sold out the Armory have we had this level of comedy.
Donnie Baker's awesome, but we're not at that level, but we'll get there.
Oh, you might sell out the Raintree.
I'm telling you, man, you got to start lining up now.
Yep. I think it's good. I mean, I'm not kidding. I think it's going to be a great time. And then
I can't wait until you become famous doing this, and then I can crop this part of the podcast out and put it on YouTube and get like 12 million views.
That would be amazing.
Be great.
Be okay with that. And then also, I mean, that leads to January 30th is also the roast battle. And I'm going to be roasting a fellow podcaster, Dustin Roller, from the Married with Children podcast, Throttled Up, all kinds of different things he's doing down there in Southern Indiana. And I'm going to destroy him. It's not even going to be fucking close. Like, I'm telling you right now, like I've been actually being on stage. Like, I mean, he's good. Like he's a principal. So I guess he stands in front of a bunch of snot-nosed kids and like kind of probably feels comfortable on stage, but I just got a lot of good jokes for him. So I'm going to roast him. So anybody that wants to come to that, it's at Crackers, downtown Indianapolis, January 30th. It's a Thursday, so it's a thirsty Thursday. I've already taken off work the next day so that I can enjoy it and live it up. So it's going to be a good time. Come to that too.
Is your comedy style, just real quick after this, we're going to talk about news.
Yeah.
Okay. So real quick.
I expect jokes about everybody's name. You pretty ready?
I told you I'm not that funny.
Your style. So like Tom Segura is very dry. Mm-hmm. Bert Kreischer, he's the party guy.
Shirtless.
And do you have a style like that yet?
Like I said before, it's very personal. I think it's self-deprecating. I make fun of myself a lot, but at the same time, I am narcissistic, so I think a lot of myself too. So that's kind of like my style.
It's a good mix. It's kind of like how Dan Cummins does.
Yeah.
He's self-deprecating, but he's also like he thinks he's better than you too.
I'm not going to tell the joke, but part of like something that I said is like, I've always based my eating and drinking habits around how much money I have, and I tell the crowd like clearly I'm doing pretty well, and then there's more to that, but that's part of it right there. So that's like one of those things. And because I'm making fun of myself for being fat, but I'm fat because I can afford to be fat.
Yeah. I like that. All right.
So we sent.
So now I've shared this into so many local politics groups right now.
Everybody's ready. Everybody's wanting to know. Okay, so get your tickets. Show up at the Yo-Yo on Saturday night. But local news, breaking news. We sent reporter Chris down to the Justice Center.
We did.
By the way, there's a Justice Center scandal. I've seen all these pictures on social media of people filing to run for office. And if you're not an attorney or an elected official, you can't get your cell phone into this damn building. So I don't know how all these people got all these pictures.
They're having attorneys take them for them.
I don't know. Attorneys cost a lot of money. So there needs to be an investigation.
Sean Rao costs us $1. That's not a lot of money.
I think there needs to be a freedom of information request to find out how all these cell phones are getting past the security belt in the Justice Center.
You're 100% correct, and I don't want to give away too much, but I've been in the Justice Center here in Newcastle, and I got dropped off, and I had my cell phone, and I walked in, and this was the only court. Not that I've been in a bunch of courts, but this was the only court that I could go into that I couldn't take my phone into. And so I was like, so what do I do? They're like, we don't know.
Not our
Figure
problem.
it out. So I ran outside and like set it down behind a bush, hoping that
with all of the other phones.
Yeah, hoping that I could come back and find it still there.
Oh my God.
So-
the police wouldn't just take it and put it in their little office
I
for
asked. No, they would not do that.
you? What a bunch of
The kind of
jerks.
service we have here in Henry.
We got a bunch of jerks working
All
for
right.
us.
So
Sorry, that was a
I'm
sidetrack.
just saying, I don't know what this double standard is, but I've noticed it and I'm keeping track. All right. And you know who you are out there with your pictures. Because I've been the victim of having to go in with my piece of paper and a pencil and try to remember what was going on. Because damn it, I'm not paying $2 a page for something.
We have 6 names so far.
Yes. So these are the people that have filed. These are not the people that have announced, but these are the ones that have gone in. I think you've had the filing window has been open for 2 days. So far, Commissioner Kim Kronk has filed for re-election as a Republican in the Middle District. Bobby Plummer has filed. She's challenging Ed Yanos, the incumbent. She's filed in the Southern District as a Republican. Ed Yanos is not. He's openly said he's considering, but he's not filed yet. Chris Newkirk is reported that he's going to run, but has not yet filed for commissioner as a Republican. He's the police chief who made the news recently in Knightstown, who was volunteering when he was suspended or whatever the heck happened down there.
Right.
Check local media reports on that. Incumbent
Nice.
surveyor Steve Rust has filed for re-election. Stacy Guffey, our former coroner and friend of the show, he has filed for coroner again as a Republican. He served, I believe, for 8 years. Has been out of office for
like
4 to
I'm
8
not
years.
judging a job by any means, but what kind of political pull does the coroner have?
Do you know who can arrest a sheriff?
The coroner. Huh?
Coroner.
Okay.
Yeah, they got
You
stones,
also
man.
get to say this was death by suicide. Just like Jeffrey Epstein, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying a good coroner is important.
We'll get to the police scandal later.
Okay.
Incumbent county councilman Harold Griffin has filed for re-election. And Steve Peckinpah has filed for county council, Democrat. He's a surprise name that I don't think anybody was really looking for or expecting yet. I don't think she has filed for election yet, but we do have a new county council person as well. Very good friend of the
that's
show.
right.
Betsy Mills won the Republican caucus this week, and she is serving as a county council person.
She's already been putting in that work, getting that bread. She toured the Delaware County Jail.
Decatur County.
Decatur County Jail. Yeah,
They're
sorry.
getting ready to open one up down in Greensburg, and she toured that.
She
I
went
gave
down
her a
there
hard time.
to take notes to see what she can spend all of our hard-earned money on.
I don't know. Betsy printed out an 11 by 17 drawing that she easily could have looked at on her phone. So I'm already questioning if Betsy's wasting her taxpayer dollars on printing drawings for photo ops. The photo op councilwoman. I don't know.
Do you guys see
see.
these? Do you guys see these people like around?
Yes.
Yeah. This is
We know all of these people, and
our county has only 50,000, like 52,000 people. Okay,
almost every one of these folks will come through these doors over the next 12 months.
Nice.
So yes, we have fun with them. We talk shit about them, but they're also all of them are our friends. And the same things we're saying now, we will say to their faces when they're here.
No, I completely believe it. I was just curious, just because the way you guys talk about them, I feel like you already have a relationship with them. So that's what
Many of them.
That's why I was interested.
Yeah.
Yep, almost all of them have raised my taxes or stolen some sort of a freedom from
The
me.
next guy,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
the next guy, he's not a friend of the show. He's never been in these doors and
Aaron
probably
Strong?
won't be. Yeah, former police officer Aaron Strong. We had some news about him.
I didn't want to have this story this week, man.
I wanted to bring it up because, well, no one wants to have this story, but it's something that happened in our own backyard, of a case of real police brutality that happened here in our small city of 20,000 people.
Yeah.
It's not just something that you see on Facebook videos from groups like Police to Police, where it's just this chopped up video. It's a real thing that can happen, and I think that people should at least be aware about it. Hopefully, this is the only bad egg, like we like to say, that was on our police department. We don't have a situation like this again, but things like this can happen in any community, even one as small as ours.
Yeah, so I kind of got a tip from somebody that this was coming earlier in the week, and asked a few questions, and then got a press release sent to me by the by the Indiana State Police and then did a little more digging and got one from the Newcastle Police Department as well. And essentially, the officer Strong was involved with the arrest of a guy. Multiple officers were already there. The press release from the state police basically says that this officer used his baton on a guy who was already down on the ground. It led to an internal investigation by the city, turned it over to the state police. They investigated it because the other officers that were there said, hey, something doesn't look right here. Really unfortunate, like a truly, totally unfortunate situation to have. But the biggest takeaway I have from it is that it does give me some faith in the officers that we have 100%. In our community.
They did
that this turned out correctly and you don't have a cover up and that the process worked. And, I hate that this has happened at all. It's a black eye for the community, but at the same time, I would much rather have the transparency and the right thing happen and show that individuals have rights.
Straight up. Yeah. Just the amount of courage that those guys had to show to be able to say something about a fellow officer.
Sure, that didn't go well around the water cooler the next day.
For sure. That's like it creates an awkward situation. And they were brave enough to do it. Yeah. So huge kudos to those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
It looks like it was definitely handled professionally.
It was.
So
it was handled great.
Yeah.
And just because you wear a badge and you have the uniform doesn't mean you have special rights. Everybody still is a citizen and has their rights.
But they also arrested the guy though for fleeing.
Yeah,
resisting arrest.
I believe there were a few media reports and press releases that we got. There were a number of outstanding warrants.
Yeah,
it sounds like the fellow needed. Basically, it was the line that was crossed. Of yes, the guy was getting arrested, but it sounds like he was under control. And then
at that point,
at that point, and then the aggression happened. And
the way that the Indiana State Police report put it was the two police officers that originally saw him and chased him down and had him on the ground. He had given up, and then the other responding officer, Officer Strong, pulled up, and the suspect was on the ground whenever he pulled up, and that's whenever he went on the offensive. So it was obviously he was way
having
out
a bad
of line.
Day.
He was way out of line there. And like we said, huge shout out to the two officers that did come forward and say that something wasn't right, because they did a very brave action. They did a very good thing. And I think that we need to recognize them for that action.
So the timeline, basically, according to the press release sent by the city of Newcastle, was that on August 18th, this individual, Joshua West, was arrested for possession of methamphetamine, resisting law enforcement, and there were 2 active warrants. He was transported to the hospital and later sent to Henry County Jail. Right after Mr. West was arrested, the chief of police was made aware of a use of force complaint, is what they called it, with Lieutenant Strong. The chief ordered an internal investigation, placed the officer on leave. So at that point, no longer out there with the citizens, wearing the badge. The prosecutor made the decision to ask the state police the next day. So this happened, I think, on a Sunday morning, basically, 1 a.m. On the following Monday, the chief talked to the prosecutor. Prosecutor said, hey, let's get the state police involved. They investigated it, set up a criminal investigation handled by the state police. They assigned a special prosecutor because obviously in a community of this size, everybody knows each other.
Right.
So you don't have the true impartiality. They assigned it to Rodney Cummins, the Madison County prosecutor. And on December 20th, as a result of the investigation, Lieutenant Strong contacted the police department and resigned. So the press release that came out said former Newcastle police officer. And that was the first question that came to my mind is, well, what do you mean former officer? If you look the fellow up,
I thought he got fired.
Yeah. And it's a resignation. According to the police department, it says on December 20th, he resigned.
Sounds like more of if you don't resign, we're going to fire you.
And I don't know. So that would be a decision by I assume the local merit board or the chief. And the minutes for the merit board are not available yet online. Eventually they're public information. They'll be there and you'll see a public record of what's happened. But at this time, minutes aren't that current yet. But I have faith that very soon that they'll all be there and be available for anybody to look at that wants to see them. But
so will he face any criminal punishment?
So yes, but the process is in place. On January 6th, the police department was advised that Lieutenant Strong was charged with criminal recklessness, which is a Class B misdemeanor, for the actions back in August. And then basically the police department said they are committed to serving the citizens of Newcastle and deeply regret the situation. Once the chief was notified, the investigation was turned over to the state police. So
I wonder what I would get charged with if I saw a random guy laying on the ground and beat the shit out of him with a baton.
You pled guilty, did you not?
not yet.
But really, though, is that all I would face?
And this is a preliminary charge, right? I mean, you there's no trial yet. You don't know if anybody's pled out or if there's going to be a.
It also depends if you're caught.
If you're caught, yeah.
Seems like a civil case would pursue this, wouldn't it?
Hopefully, I have good friends that would realize there's something wrong with me.
I don't know.
Jeremiah's over there egging you on. Like,
it's very.
Kick him again. Come on.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate that this happened, man. I don't know. We got, especially in a community of our size, everybody, right? It's not like it's Indianapolis and you're just throwing bombs at folks. Everybody in this room has very, very close friends that are in this community, right. In the law enforcement community. So it's just, shout out to those folks that handled it the right way.
Absolutely.
That's the only side. The only part I really feel comfortable talking about at this point is saying, big kudos for doing the right things, because it cannot be easy, as you talked about for the water cooler.
Yeah,
man, right. That is not an easy conversation.
Because I'm sure, like with you talking about having friends in the police community and everything like that. I mean, those guys, from the people that I've met through IMPD and stuff like that, it's kind of like buds. Like you're watching out for that person's back.
Yeah.
I mean, they have an extremely dangerous job, and we asked them to do an extremely dangerous job. So whenever you go out there, sometimes you're alone. And whenever you call in for backup, that means that you have got a serious situation on your hand.
Right.
And you're hoping that you can trust that other person with your life.
Right.
Right. So you have to be very close with those people. It's different from other jobs where, you clock in 9 to 5 and you see each other. You might say some random BS to each other about.
Hey, how about Tom Brady to the Colts, huh?
Yeah. No, you have to trust this person with your life, and you need to be close with them. So it's different than telling on your buddy at an office job,
right?
Right, but it's more important as well. So they did a great thing,
yeah.
But. On happy news, we have some news about our representative, Tom Saunders. We need to give a kudos to him.
So this is very exciting. As you know, folks that have listened to the show for a long time and paid attention, I've dabbled in politics and dabbled. Producer Chris has dabbled in politics. We've all run failed campaigns, and we've run as libertarians. And
I had some pretty successful memes.
Yeah, well, the meme game has been strong, and that's the
true key right there. That's the thing they're going for.
The most frustrating part of my 10 years in the Libertarian Party is that the deck has been stacked against third party candidates or anybody that's not from whatever the predominant team is in your community. And we've talked to a number of state legislators, state senators, state reps that have come through the doors here, including Tom Saunders, who's I've run against Tom. I worked on Tom's campaigns. We've become friends. It's a very, very good relationship. And Tom filed a bill this year to eliminate straight ticket voting in Indiana. Fantastic thing. It's something we talked about with him a year ago on this show.
Yep.
And made a very clear, we're excited, very excited about it.
Literally at every Libertarian Party meeting that we had last year, there were probably only 6 or 7 of them. I didn't do that great of a job scheduling them monthly, but I did. I got the majority. So at
more than
literally
50%.
Yeah, at every single one of them, I had a slide in the slideshow presentation that gave his email address and his phone number, Gene Lysing's email address and phone number. I know I have had a conversation with Tom. I've sent an email to Miss Lysing about Mrs. I don't know.
Senator.
I'm saying Ms. because I don't know. I've had a conversation with both of them, and Tom was very receptive. Last time I talked to him about it, he agreed, and I didn't see anything. Nothing came about last year, and because I was hoping like hey,
instantaneous, got to happen right now.
That was before I knew the legislative session was coming up. I was like, hey, I think that this is something that could benefit the citizens, and he agreed. He said yes, it will. I had a good conversation. Every conversation
great
I've had with Tom is
great op-ed in the Courier Times this week that he wrote, highlighting this.
And then I lost hope. I was like, he was just saying like, yeah, it would be great, but he didn't want to ruffle feathers, is what I thought. He wanted to do other work there, and he thought that ruffling feathers would get in the way with that because that happens, and it's legitimate. But then the op-ed in the paper comes out, and you send me that he actually filed the bill. That was today. I was like, holy crap.
Yep. It's been signed. It has been assigned. So inside baseball, if the Speaker of the House has complete control, if the Speaker wants to kill something, they will send it to the Rules Committee, and it is dead.
Yep.
The Rules Committee never meets. They never do anything. They don't deal with anything. That is where we say, okay, yeah, thank you so much for that. There's the trash can. That's where you send things if you want them to die. It got assigned to the election committee, which means that it's actually got hope and life. Yeah. So now as people listen and they pay attention, you can call your state senator, call your state rep and say, hey, I care about this. This is why it's better for Indiana. Representative Saunders makes a point of saying that Indiana is one of only 7 states that still has this, that has it at all. And if you want good candidates to run for your mayor, to run for any board, it's important to reward people and say, hey, you've got a chance. It's based upon individuals, not just about the party. So it's a big deal. And it's also important for our community that, the Republicans control the state house completely. The Democrats don't have to show up. Libertarians don't have to show up. They can conduct all of the business entirely with the Republicans that are there. Okay. Tom's a Republican, so he's in the majority. So it's not just a mad minority person saying, hey, do this thing for me. He's speaking their language. That's good. Right? He's from the majority side. So, it's exciting. Honestly, it's something we've hoped for a long time, and we'll see.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
What are you doing, Mason? What's happening over there on soundboard? What are you doing?
That was Michael Scott.
Michael Scarn, you said?
Michael, do the Scarn.
What sound? You've been working with different soundboards. Is this The Office now? You had Judge Judy a minute ago.
Judge Judy. We got a whole bunch of things right here. Here's Gordon Ramsay.
Are you stupid?
That is so loud.
I was thinking last week that we need to have a soundboard up for Chris so that he can do stuff like that.
Yes.
So I'm glad that Mason
has taken the reins. He can't tell a story to save his life, but man, he's a little bit.
Maybe if you join the Patreon, you can hear me do well at telling a story for once.
Top fan Sarah Morrell, my bride, says, that Mason's adding to the show. You can run, go wherever you need to go, Juice. You don't need permission. This isn't 5th grade. Just go and do what you need to do. All right, Dakota. What else do we think?
Did we say that? Did we already give predictions of whether or not we thought this bill would pass?
We have not.
Let's start with Mason. Mason, what do you think about straight ticket voting? Do you think that Tom Saunders' bill is going to pass the House, then get through the Senate, and then wind up on the governor's desk to get signed into law?
Yeah, I think it could. I think it's got a chance.
You think it's got a chance? I need a yes or no. 100% commitment.
Who was that? Yeah. Who was that?
Yeah.
That's not Mason. That's the soundboard. Our audio.
Is that Dwight Schrute over there?
Good.
Let's see if you can tell it by this.
Better, closer, warmer.
I have no idea.
It's Jack Black.
Jack Black. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to know Jack Black. That part of Jack Black.
That's how I feel about.
Yeah.
That does sound like Jack Black.
What about this one?
Yeah.
That's.
I don't know if that's him.
Okay, let's stop playing around.
Juice is watching from the bathroom now, so that's good. He's pulling a real Mason.
What about UK? Do you think it's going to pass?
Yeah, I think it's going to pass. It should pass. definitely one of those things that we've all been kind of hoping for. So I think we've talked about it enough here. Hopefully enough people know about it that it should.
Hopefully.
I'm optimistic. If it passes, we're taking credit. We'll share credit with Representative Saunders, but I'm telling you, we are taking credit as this show.
Oh, yeah.
We have made it our anthem.
I saw Tom Ferkenhoff. He said if it passes, Tom should get an award at the Libertarian State Convention.
Yes.
Well, this is a big reward we're getting from Tom for not running a candidate against him for the first time in ages. So we apparently all I had to do is not run a Libertarian against Tom, and he'll file a bill for us. So it's amazing.
I think I have a definite answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jeremiah. You say yes.
Travis Ham wants to know if this bill passes, will we see Jeremiah on the ballot in the future? Man.
Hey, listen, Travis. You already don't have to go against straight ticket voting if you run for county council at large. So Jeremiah doesn't have an excuse this year either.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. The nice thing for libertarians is that our filing deadline, the way these schedules work, Republicans and Democrats need to file now to get on the ballot for the primary that's in May. For races that we handle at the county level, the Libertarian Party has until June. So essentially what we get to do is we get to look at the field and make a strategic decision and say, yeah, we're happy with the candidates that are in that race. We don't have to run anybody. We're going to choose to keep our powder dry there, or we're going to run candidates in places that we care about. Right. So the party has the ability to be selective and to make decisions later on. So at this point, we just get to focus on shoveling snow and watching the news. And then as it gets closer, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Thoughts and conversations happening.
Oh, there are always back channel conversations happening. You kidding me? Lincoln Chafee just became a libertarian and decided he's running for president on our side. So that's something. A senator, governor, mayor of.
He's worse on guns than Bill Weld, and he's a Republican now. So he's not very good.
Well, Lincoln Chafee has been a Republican. He's been a Democrat. And he's been an independent. Now he's a libertarian. So
just change your stripes whenever you feel like
he just likes to see what's going on.
We'll see. I don't know. Haven't met him yet. Once I meet him 3 or 4 times, I'll make a decision. Justin Amash is out there rumored to maybe be thinking about running as well.
That rumor's been going around.
Who knows?
Ever since since before he changed to an independent. That rumor has been floating around that he would run for president as a libertarian.
Our friend I'll
believe it when I see it.
K. Kronk wants to know, does it have to be legislated? Can your precinct just choose not to program in the straight ticket option? The answer is no. State statute has it set up so that it has to operate a certain way. So
does that just make it easier for people? Once again, I don't pay attention to any of this stuff, and I apologize. Does it make it just easy just to click a button and it's like, I just want all the Republicans, I want all the Democrats.
So when you go in, and this has been a problem in Henry County
since we've gotten to electronic
areas,
machines.
Yeah, we have where right now in Henry County, the last couple elections that we've had, you go into the voting booth and the voting machine is sitting in front of you. The very first question is, please select a party. And it says Republican, Democrat, Libertarian. And if you do not select one of those for a straight ticket ballot, then whenever you try to skip to the next screen, you get an error message, like you've done something wrong, that says you left a question blank. Like, hey, you left a question blank and go change it. So we saw a huge increase across the board, not just in Republicans or Democrats, but even as libertarians, we saw a huge increase in the amount of straight ticket voters. But yeah, straight ticket voting, you just go in, you press I'm Team R, and that's that.
And it will pre-check the box. So if you go in and you say, okay, Republican, you pre-check the box in every race. So then the burden becomes somebody has to go in and manually change it each time.
Okay.
Or you can just get lazy halfway through and say, you know what, I'm voting for president and governor, and that's enough. Whatever. I vote a Republican, let it ride. Yeah. So the folks that are working on your local level, the ones that can do the most damage in your life, Juice,
right?
You've already voted for them. You haven't even looked at that page.
Right.
You just filled it in. Or there may not be a guy from the team you voted for in it. It might be, hey, I voted Democrat, but there's no Democrat in that race. So now you just didn't vote at all. You just skipped that race.
You just left it blank.
Yeah.
All right.
So instead, what this would do is it would eliminate that function, and then you'd have the burden of going through and paging through and saying, yep, I want to vote for Bill for this and Phil for this and Bob for that and Sally for the other race.
And if you
vote for
still want
Susan,
to
and
vote
that's it.
all Republican,
Totally allowed to.
you can.
Yeah.
You know,
They're not taking the party label off.
Right.
They're just, and what would happen, say school board, right? If you vote for school board, and that's usually towards the bottom of your ballot, last page, those aren't party affiliated. So if you just went in and said, I'm going to vote for all the Republicans, you wouldn't vote in the school board race.
That,
yeah, you've skipped it.
Same for at-large races. Any straight ticket votes don't go towards at-large county council races.
So all these people getting on me for not voting.
Yeah.
Doing straight ticket voting.
Yep.
So I have something to talk some shit back to them.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'd rather you not vote than select straight ticket, honestly. Like if you're going to be that lazy, just stay home.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Well, I already got that covered. So. No, I apologize. I know like you're probably a huge, your entire demographic probably takes a lot of pride in the voting thing. And I always feel bad when I talk to people about it because I just don't even think about it.
It's self-defense, man.
It really,
they steal from you. My taxes, my paycheck just went down this week because of the theft that they put in place in November.
Wow.
True. What was that?
Our county income tax just went up.
What I was saying about laziness,
You're poorer, Henry County.
Made a Facebook status that was a joke, and it said, imagine being so lazy, or imagine being motivated enough to go to the gym, but too lazy to re-rack your weights. It's the same concept of straight ticket voting. Mm-hmm. You're motivated enough to drive out to the polls, but you're too lazy to select candidates.
Right.
Like, what kind of a
just give me my sticker that says I was here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I can talk smack to all the people
Right.
that don't have their stickers.
So who I voted for is none of your business, but damn it, I got a sticker.
That way I can make a virtue signaling post on my social media that said that I'm better than you because I got a sticker. I am not sure it will pass.
I'm optimistic. I don't want to say no. It's very early. It's the first time it's come up.
I'm cautiously optimistic, but I don't think it'll pass because it's the first time it's come up.
Sometimes these things come up and it just happens and everybody goes, yep, that's genius. We should have done it. Should have done it a long time ago.
Could be.
And there's other times where it may take 3, 4, 5
just
cycles.
like,
which is weird because do you feel like that there's any reason that, who would be against it or why would you be against it?
Well, a lot of times, like in very rural areas, we obviously have a super majority in the state of Republicans. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those folks, if they live in a heavy red area, then they benefit from straight ticket voting.
It's great for protecting power.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're an urban Democrat or a rural Republican, generally it's pretty good for you.
But see, the rural Democrats and the urban Republicans are going to really like this idea. And same with the whole entire Libertarian Party of the state of Indiana. Mm-hmm.
And the Greens and the Independents.
If you read Tom Saunders' op-ed, we are one of 7 states in the country that still has the option for straight ticket voting.
I'm tired of hearing that about Indiana. We're one of 3 states that
it's all these archaic things.
Yeah.
Okay with X, Y, or Z.
Eventually shaming our legislature is what happens. They're like, look, guys, we are the last state. Minnesota got beer. We are the last one. At least give me 8 hours of freedom on Sundays. We are it. We're worse than Louisiana. People in Kentucky make fun of us. We're the worst, right? And that shaming is finally what happens, and it finally works.
On Ohio.
That's what it'll take for marijuana. We'll be boxed in with that before we legalize it. For sure.
Yeah, 100%. It will take it will become normal across the state to be walking down the street and smell weed, and it will still be illegal.
Yeah,
and for it to become changed.
It's going to become that way because it's kind of already that way.
Yeah, I mean it's
in this area.
You walk into a bar, you're going to smell some marijuana,
right?
Yeah.
Don't tell grandma. Don't tell grandma.
You're not going to smell it here, but
maybe not in
most places. You walk down the street in Indy and you smell weed.
Oh yeah,
but you walk down the street in Newcastle, you don't smell weed.
Never.
If you smelled it in Chicago last weekend, though.
I think it depends on
first
the street
weekend of recreational.
If you smell it, you're like, if you smell it in Newcastle, you go, oh.
You go down one of those lettered streets on the east side of town, and I'm pretty sure you can smell it in the streets over there.
Damn people on H Avenue.
Over at H and Roosevelt. That place.
Another thing, the day it went legal in Chicago, they quoted the amount of money they made from it. To me, that didn't seem like that much. Was it like $3 million?
$3.2 million.
But I guess it's in a day.
It was a day.
Yeah.
In the first day in Texas.
They don't have a lot of dispensaries yet, though.
Yeah.
There's only 37 across the whole state of Illinois.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot
Infancy.
of dispensaries there yet.
Yeah.
And,
Give it time.
you know,
Give it time. It's an emerging market. I still think they're all forced to be cash only as well. There's a number of drawbacks that they have as they're scaling up.
they wrote sung a song about it at Second City, though.
They did.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think we've got to the point of the show where it's time to do final thoughts.
Anyang. So are you on Arrested Development now? I got that one. Anyang. Goodbye. Hello. Anyang.
Oh my God! We're having a fire sale! Oh, the burning!
David Cross for you, Tobias. Mason, final thoughts. Where are you at in Arrested Development over there? I gave you some homework over the Christmas break. You've binged. Are you finished with the series?
I am on season 5, episode
That is incredible.
11. I have grinded through it, and it's super good show, and I'll probably rewatch it as soon as I finish it.
That's
just
great.
to catch up on the other jokes.
My favorite is Tobias being a never nude. That is just so funny.
The jorts.
Yeah, wearing the jorts in the shower and stuff. It's so funny.
The first time I watched the show, I hated Tobias, and now he has become my favorite character.
Tobias is the greatest. I just blew myself.
Oh, hold on.
Stand in for the Blue Man Group.
Here you go.
Do you ever really think about what you say before you say it?
I never do.
Uh-oh. He's trying. He's desperately clicking.
It won't let me play it.
Uh-oh.
It says blew myself.
Dang. That is my favorite line from that show.
Aaron Dickens says, don't bother with the last season. But honestly, season 4 is the one that's so horrific. Season 5's better. Seasons 1 through 3 are excellent. Season 4 is, they couldn't get everybody booked together. So it's a little more difficult. Season 5's much more in the formula.
Wildly different. I can't remember what her name is in the show now. The blonde haired sister. Like how wildly different she looked in the Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, is that the season 4?
Yeah, season 4 and 5.
Yeah, she like looked terrible. No offense to her, but that was a lot of bad.
She probably won't
surgery.
listen.
Mason noticed how old Job looks now too.
Yeah, he's had as Jared said, a ton of forget-me-nows. Here you go.
If I could have
I have
anybody's.
to ask for an audition.
You have an audition yet?
Oh, no, I'm not in the group yet. No, I'm afraid I just blew myself.
Oh, my wife is reminding me of Buster and his bionic arm. I talk about loose seals and mammal blood all the time in the house.
If I could have anybody's voice, though, Job.
Job has a great. You're very close to that.
Yeah, I was about to
You're
say
extremely close to that.
It's
now.
an illusion, Michael.
I love you, Tony Wonder.
No, he's got it's almost like he has a smoker's voice, but I bet he doesn't smoke.
Yeah. Hey, he's got that whenever he has that dead dove in his pocket.
What is your return policy?
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah. All right, Kade, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just a couple things. I've got a County Line wood splitter for sale, 22 ton.
22 ton.
Yeah.
Crap.
So give me a.
What in the hell are you splitting with the 20?
Just anything, man.
You could take. You could. Anything. You could split a redwood with a 22 ton.
Yeah, it's a nice, and it's basically brand new.
So what are we asking?
Is it on a trailer?
I'd like to have $700 out of it.
Man, do you have a rental program for the weekend?
I could probably work that out if somebody needs to use it.
I got some friends and a family that have a ridiculous amount of wood that they need to split.
A friend needed money and he had it, and I burn wood at my house, and I figured I don't have one. I'll just go ahead and get it, and I just don't use it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah.
So it's just sitting around, and I'd rather somebody have it that needs it. So give me a message if you're looking for a wood splitter.
It's fully operational.
Fully operational.
Is it $700 include delivery?
Yeah,
this is Tradio. If anybody wants to dial in and offer
I always
to
have
trade
something
him
for
a
sale.
dirt bike or a motorcycle, we might be able to work out a deal.
I'll take some fitness equipment for it. Yeah.
I've got a Bowflex.
Kate's like, I already had a motorcycle and a dirt bike.
I need a Rogue Echo bike. So if you got a Rogue Echo bike, let me know. That's what I'm looking for.
Christy Avery wants to know if she'll be entertained if she comes down on Saturday. Yes.
Oh
definitely. For
and I'd
sure.
like to meet Christy because I feel like she's a very staunch supporter of the Boss Hog of Liberty.
Christy
podcast.
is incredible. If she comes down, we'll treat her right. She'll enjoy it.
Christy's
and
the
she can get a
matriarch
room
of
for the
whole
night at
network.
the Oyo. And we'll interview her and find out how it went. I understand the price tag is under $60 a night. So for $60 a night, I think there should be a story.
If you don't have poop streaks in your toilet, you're winning.
You're already ahead.
But no, I had one more question for Juice. I know earlier in the week you said you went and tried jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Muay Thai, I enjoyed more because jiu-jitsu, I'm only 32, but my knees are bad. I have been shot by accident by one of my friends when I was 18. So I have nerve damage.
What
in this
caliber
leg.
are we talking?
9mm. It was a interesting situation. He never kept a magazine in it, but he always kept a round in the chamber.
One in the chamber, and
But he didn't know it that there was one in there, and he didn't also know that I had been playing with it. I was about 18. He was 18.
And you cocked that thing.
And I pulled it back and I was like, messing with it, looking at it, took a picture with my cell phone, the flip phone back in the day, the Razor. And I put it back in between his seats and he got in the car and pulled, I was talking on my cell phone. He pulled it out, was poking me in the leg. He was like, you messing with my gun? Because he had seen that it was moved a little bit. Pulls the trigger because he was thinking he was just going to dry fire it or whatever. Shot me through the leg, went out the bottom of the car. And I just looked at him. I was like, dude, you just fucking shot me. You can't take me to the hospital because you've been drinking. And I was like, the person behind us needs to take us. So I went to get out of the car, stumble over my leg because apparently it went through the nerve and that just I couldn't control walking. He comes around, throws me over his shoulder, kind of stuffs me in the car that was behind us. And
Did you know the car behind you?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was
so
an
you're not
acquaintance.
just bleeding in a random car.
He was an acquaintance. He wasn't a friend, but he was an acquaintance. And
I hope this is in your act.
Oh, no, it's not. It'll be eventually.
This is the next 5 minutes.
It'll be eventually. But yeah, then, we're driving to the hospital. Luckily, we're only 5 minutes from there in Greenfield. One of the most
Greenfield gets a lot of gunshot wounds. I'm sure they were well prepared.
one of the most surreal moments was looking down and it as I was breathing, I felt like the blood was kind of oozing out. And I was looking at it and I was kind of creeped out, but I called my mom because that's the first thing you do when you're 18 is call your mom.
Hey mom, I've been shot.
So I called her and I was like, hey mom, I just got shot by Nick. We're on our way to the hospital. And I thought she was going to freak out. And she was like, I'll be right there. My mom was an emergency room nurse at the time too. So she already worked there.
Yeah. She's in the leg.
Yeah. So we get there and guy helps me in. I think they're going to be running around we need to get him in here. We need to do this. We get there, front desk, the lady's like, yeah, we're going to put you in room 3. The doctor will be with you in a minute. And I'm like, what?
And you think you're bleeding out.
Yeah, I think I'm going to die. And, and then also I already have a loud voice, gunshot inside of an enclosed car. I had drank 3 shots, I think, before we got in the car. So a little bit drunk, loud. So I'm already just yelling. Then they give me morphine or whatever intravenous drug or whatever. And then I talked to the police. I try to tell them no, it was out in this place that it happened because I didn't want to get the girl in trouble that we were in her driveway. And then the state police got involved. They thought it was a big deal. I had got a drug deal gone bad because the guy that helped me in decided to take off because he didn't want to get in trouble either.
Sure.
So he helped me in and just drove off. So I'm by myself in this hospital room. But yeah, so that all happened. But back to the original point.
I'm going to be honest. I've completely lost track of where the story started.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. With my foot, I can control lifting like that. With this, I can only go to here.
Sure.
So when they were showing us one of the 10th Planet warm up type things that they do, where they do you're on your back and you put your foot around somebody and it's an X lock, not X lock. That's not right, is it?
Mission control.
Yeah, something like that. But basically, I kept putting my foot where it was supposed to be, but my toes were pointing in. He was like, "You don't want to point your toes in. The dude going against you will break your toes or something like that." mess you up. And I was like, I can't really control that. Like it's my leg's bad. Like I can't do anything about it. So I didn't enjoy the jiu-jitsu as much as the Muay Thai because with that, I can still kind of move around. I can still, because when it comes to like this, nerve damage, like I can still kind of play, like I play basketball. I can still play sports. I'm not completely inept, but this leg is a lot weaker than this leg. And I work on it consistently at the gym, but it's still weaker because I overcompensate. But I'm going to go back Saturday for the intro class because I can't afford to do 2 classes anyways.
Sure.
It's like $200 a month for 2 disciplines, and one discipline is like $107. So I'm going to do the Muay Thai and just keep doing that, and then try to show up on their open mats, their free open mats, because if you get that membership for one, you get the open mats for free. So I'm going to take some friends that I know that know jiu-jitsu and just tell them, teach me like on these times.
Yeah.
And then I'll take the class with like the professionals on these times.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do because I would still like to learn, because like fighting, punching and kicking is a lot different in protecting yourself, because if you're out at a bar or something, you're probably not going to be able to really do a lot standing up. It usually goes to the ground. So that's why I want to learn the jiu-jitsu too. Because one of the kids that was so crazy, Alex Delgado, who's, I think he's going to be competing soon, in Muay Thai. He was like teaching me, and like the kid's like 23, 24 years old. And he's like, and I just keep, cause I'm a perfectionist. I get super pissed when I'm not getting something down. And he's like, it's cool, man. I teach kids all the time. Like I have a lot of patience. And I was like, at first I was like, oh, that's sweet. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh man, that makes me feel like a piece of shit. No, it's really fun. It's Circle City Martial Arts in Greenfield. It's a very welcoming place. Like I said, that kid, I felt bad because I felt like I am taking time away from this guy training for him to like slow down and teach me everything. But he was like, don't worry about it, man. Everybody starts somewhere. And he's like,
so where at in Greenfield is that?
It's like the industrial complex kind of by the airport. And
you get off 70 at the Mount Comfort exit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So right outside.
And then go north. It's only a couple miles down the road there.
All right. So it's outside of Greenfield.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it has a Greenfield address. That's why I mentioned that.
Suburban Hancock County.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really cool. I've only done, like I said, the 2 classes, but
yeah, it's a really nice facility. I've been there once for an open mat. It's really nice.
So, Juice, is there anything else that we've forgotten to promote or?
No. Final thought is just we didn't get into it as much as I wanted to about the training stuff, but that's very, very similar. And I know that Joe Rogan probably makes these same comparisons all the time, but the training with that was very similar to stepping on stage to do an open mic the first time, because you literally have no idea what you're doing whatsoever. And I've never even wrestled. I always played football, basketball, like golf. That was my 3 sports in high school. And I never did any kind of like full on combat contact sport. So everything that I've learned from those other sports really don't apply in fighting, because the way he's telling, like the way Ian was training me, like to stand, he was like, get your hips forward. And he was like, act like you're humping. Like, and I was like, what? And like, he was like, no, seriously, like that's the way you need to be for your balance and your weight and everything like that. And I was like, okay. But, that's something that's interesting. And then also I just wanted to once again reiterate the fact that if anybody wants to try stand-up comedy, my suggestion is just to go try it, read some books. There's people holding classes all over Indianapolis. If you're in the Indianapolis area, if you're not in the Indianapolis area, get a hold of me. I'll suggest a couple of books that I've read, and also just give you some of the key tips that help me, because it's a very fun, engaging community. There's people that talk about clicky stuff, but I've never been the kind of person that really went with click type stuff. So I'm just kind of ignorant of it most of the time. So, I mean, to me, everybody's super welcoming and super nice. I'm sure I will run into some bullshit sometime or another, but right now everything's awesome and nice. Everywhere. So just try it if you want to. Same with that and training.
There you go. Just jump in. Dakota?
All right, my final thoughts are, I want to give a shout out to Kirsten Kronk, because she sold me a Owlet, which is like a baby monitor. It's like a sock, and you can monitor their heart rate and things while they're sleeping and stuff. got to meet her for the first time. She's been a long-time Patreon member, so that was nice to. It's always nice to meet someone that listens
To meet the
the
real
show.
fans.
Yeah.
The little people.
So, so I just wanted to give a shout out to her, and then also the Patreon side of the show is audio only because I wasn't here with the camera. But I'm gonna have to teach Jeremiah how to set that up because I got a baby coming pretty soon, Jeremiah.
We got to get some of these.
You might have to learn how to do this by yourself.
We got to get. Well, we've done every show together. I think we need to put a few in the can and just when the baby comes along, maybe you have to take. We take a week or two dark. We'll see. But listen, I'm happy to have you in this form this week because last week
I was
you were a shell
halfway to death.
You were a shell of yourself. We broke you.
Yeah.
Your birthdays. The older you get, the worse you're handling them.
It was.
You've already peaked, buddy. The hangovers last longer.
I had a horrible hangover, and I've never been one to have hangovers. It took me.
What was your drink of choice for your birthday?
Well, we were drinking Tecate beer, but we drank quite a few of them, and then we switched like this weird bottled Everclear, like sugary drink. And I don't do a lot of sugar right now. Right. And it was just, that put me over the edge, and it messed me up for like 2 days. We were in Chicago, and I was still feeling it Friday, and it was just so bad. And
it was a 3-day hangover.
Anyway, I wasn't planning on talking about that. I'm the same way, like with my diet right now, like all like crappy foods, like horrible. Chicago messed me up until like Tuesday.
Yeah,
it was so bad. Yeah. And I'm like,
but you had that fine Italian food.
It was the
white tablecloth mob hit.
It was the Broken English Taco Pub that we went to the first night that we were there. Friday night had me messed up the whole rest of the time.
Nobody liked the Broken English Taco Pub.
It was disgusting.
That was not good.
I've made a better quesadilla at home, and I made better queso.
Nobody was
queso and guacamole at home. It was horrible, and I paid like $50. I'm like, screw this place. This is horrible. Don't waste your time. I'm glad the one in Indy's closed. Something needs to go in there that's better.
Yeah. Yeah. That was rough. But thank you very much to the Patreon folks. You guys are what it all makes it happen. Even if you have to join and drop out for, after a period of time, we understand. You're awesome. And you guys joining gives us the encouragement to keep going. Any of the Patreon folks or anybody in general, Mason and I are going to be hanging out at the Indy RV show on Saturday morning. Mason got the bug, so we'll be down in Indy at the State Fairgrounds. I know Jared Burcham's going to be hanging out with us.
Mason get the bug? He doesn't have money to spend.
He doesn't. He doesn't
bug off.
Yeah. Don't worry about how he's going to get it financed. He wants his own space, so he's out there looking at campers. He wants
trying to move
now.
out cheaply.
Yeah,
that's not a bad idea.
We
can build you one. Just go get a trailer from TSC and some 2x4s. We'll throw one together. Drywall.
You just need a van and a river.
I think we just buy. We go down to Tom's Mini Barns and buy a trailer and get our boy Vidito to weld it on there.
I built 2 houses. I've done industrial work, commercial work.
I've got some vacant grain bins right now. You can move into for just a little while
till the late summer.
They're not insulated very well.
Just don't one day go, oh shit, Mason was in that.
Now let's get started by letting me give you a little bit of a scenario of what my life is all about. First off, I am 35 years old. I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river.
I can't help you with I can build it for you. But you might have to have Kade put in the transmission and the steering and things. I'm not good with vehicles.
Do you know the scary thing, Juice? What? Chris Farley's been dead his entire life. Mason over there.
That is wild.
His entire life. He's never existed.
That's wild.
He's Elvis Presley for us.
Jesus.
We never lived in Elvis's life. He never lived in Chris Farley's life. And then my last final thought here. Damn Buffalo Bills. I was so emotionally attached to the Bills team.
I was financially attached to them as well.
And their quarterback, he's a loose cannon that should be run out of Buffalo. I don't
know. Give him one more year.
I don't know, man. He threw the ball up like he had no concept.
It's almost like he just went into
He went insane.
He like blacked out for a minute and didn't know where he was at.
He's chunking the ball 40 yards down the field into triple coverage to a fullback.
Yep.
He's taking unbelievable chances. They're in field goal range.
They should have won that game.
I know. He's taking sacks with no timeouts, losing 35 yards when they were in field goal range at the end of the game.
I was watching the play-by-play on ESPN because I did have money on it, and I was like, I need to see how this plays out. And when I saw them backed up like 40 yards from like a couple of sacks, I was like, what just happened? I was going to win some money.
I know. My wife was sick in the other room. So we're at the Airbnb. It's nap time for Dakota and Audrey. It's nap time for Chase and Katie. My wife's sick in the other room. So I'm sitting there watching.
Time for me.
I'm sitting. Yeah, he's just avoiding sports. I'm sitting there watching the game. Buffalo's up 16 to nothing.
Being super loud.
14
just
to nothing.
Yelling.
Listen,
we're in an apartment. Like there's people around.
I don't care. This is the playoffs. So shut up.
Yep. He's going to have it on tomorrow. So or Saturday, so that I can.
Some asshole scheduled a comedy show. I'll be in the comedy show. So I'm
going to sit by you.
I'm sitting there watching the game, and then my wife comes out, and I swear to God, as soon as she comes out of that room, she sits down next to me. Buffalo's losing immediately. It was the fault. Second she came out of that room, that all turned. The entire game. I tried to send her away. She wouldn't listen. That was it. So,
and then Chase came out and they turned it around and tied it.
They did tie the game. And I had made a side bet with Chase. I've got two side bets right now. One, if Brady comes to the Colts, I'm all in with the Bears with Chase for the duration of the Brady adventure. I'm going up to Chicago. I'm buying the jersey. I'm growing the mustache. I'm going full. Okay. Until Brady's out of our damn town. I'm on the Bears.
Yep.
Yeah, Bears.
I'm gonna be Polish sausage. And then the other side bet that we all lost out on is I said if Buffalo made the AFC Championship game, I was getting Bears jersey or Bills jersey. I was going Bills Mafia, and I was going on a table. I was going to take a table out, but Houston screwed
pissed it away.
So that now the world doesn't get that.
One more thing, really quick before we end the show. Chris Lamb is in the chat, and he is. He is obviously in the Newcastle Career Center, and they are looking for a welding teacher. If you've made it this far in the episode, then you are obviously a very dedicated individual, and you would be a great fit if you know how to weld, and you can teach youngins how to weld as well, because that position is open. I don't know what everything you need, but Chris Lamb could tell you. Look him up on Facebook and send him a message.
There we go. All right. Next week, Thursday.
Yeah.
And then following that, we got another big special guest. So Guffey has been assigned the task of booking next week's guest. He's talking to the family, the clan. We're going to try to get another Guffey on. We're not going to make it an announcement, but Guffey's talking to the Guffies. And if that works out, that's our guest. And if not, we'll figure it out. And then the following week, we've got booked, but we'll make that announcement later. But it's a big deal. So be ready. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Okay, Lindsay, are you forgetting that I was a professional twice over, an analyst and a therapist, the world's first analrapist?
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at WeareLibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to WeareLibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeareLibertarians.com.